Hi, my name is Billy and welcome to the Act Web API video series. In my previous video, I created a link from Facebook lead ads into your Act contact list. Anytime anybody saw my ad and filled out the survey question, that answer would get filtered into my Act contact list, and either a new contact would be created or a current contact would be updated with this survey answer. Today, we're going to do the same thing, but with a Twitter handle. And the idea will be anytime somebody follows our corporate Twitter, it will automatically add that person into our Act database. Let's get started. You can start by clicking Create Zap, clicking Make a Zap, or going to the Zapier homepage and searching for two different applications. Here we're going to put in Twitter, and the trigger event that we're going to select is going to be a new follower of me. Now there are many different options within Twitter, but this is the one we're going to focus on today. As always, we will have to sign into that account to create that account connection. Zapier always asks if you want to follow them on Twitter while doing this, so I'm going to hit this drop down and say no. And here I'll double check and see if I want to allow Zapier.com to access my account, which I do. Now we have a connection to our account, we just need to select it. And click Continue. And finally, just like previously, each section within Zapier requires that you test that section. So let's test the trigger. And sure enough, here we go. We see the demo data that's automatically put in here. And in this case, I actually created a Twitter account just to follow my main account so that we would have some data to plug in. Click Continue to go to the Action section. And for the action, we are going to select Act. And for that event, I'm going to do just like last time, find or create contact. Now it'll ask me on which account for Act I want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and reconnect just like we did in the last video, just so you can see it. Now I'm using the Act demo database. So the demo username is Chris Huffman. And Zapier requires you to have a password, and by default Chris Huffman does not. So I had to add a password onto the account. Now at the top of Act, you'll find the name of the database up in the title bar, which is Act 2020 Demo. And for the URL, I'm using Act Connect link, so I'm going to pull the URL directly from my Act Connect link section. Since this text box was already preceded by HTTPS, I'll want to make sure that I remove that so that I don't end up creating a bad URL. And I'll click Yes to create the account and link it in to this app. And now I'll have to select the account. Since I did this already in the last video, you'll see one here, but we just created Act number 2, so that's what we're going to use. And click Continue. So now it's our turn to set up the action. So we're going to set this so that it looked for someone that already existed, and if it did, it would update them. But if they didn't, it would create that person in my Act contact list. Since Twitter doesn't use email addresses or first names and last names than any sort of naming convention, we're going to use that Twitter handle. So I created that field specifically to hold on to the Twitter handle, and if I scroll down into the T's, I should find it. And there it is. For the value to search by, though, we're going to actually select that Twitter screen name. Now, if this screen name doesn't exist, I do want to create a new contact. So I'm going to hit that box. It's going to load up all of the fields for Act, and we're going to get started. So for the first name in this case, I am going to use the Twitter follower name. Now, that name can be pretty much anything the user wants, but we don't really have much of a choice on how else we're going to hold on to this information, so we're going to stick with that. For the ID status, I'll put Twitter follower. And for the referred by, I'm just going to put Twitter lead only because there is a chance I could convert that to a customer. Now I'm going to scroll all the way down till I find that Twitter handle section that I created previously, and we're going to make sure that we insert that follower screen name. And that's it. We'll click continue. It'll want to do a quick test on the search and create that we've just made. And we have a green check mark, which means we can simply turn on the Zap. Since it's already on, we can check over in Act. And if I go to my contacts section and I do a quick look for that Twitter handle that starts with AMA, I should find that I'm already in here. And that concludes how to create a quick connection between Twitter and Act using Zapier. Now, if you're still on the fence on whether or not you should use the API, let's try out a free product and connect to your database today. Handheld Contact Lite lets you access your contacts, send them important emails and SMS messages, and even map out their locations easily. You cannot beat the price of $0. This is available on iOS and Android and is a great way to see how well the API performs with your live data. Head over to handheldcontact.com for more details.